Guys, now please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Those who are attending in online, am I audible? Is my voice on screen is clear to all of you guys? Now please respond to me. Right, just 1 minute. Right, sir. Now, guys, now please check it. What topic here we are understanding now? All right, sir. Now, so what was the topic here we are understanding there? Enterprise architecture, enterprise application content here we are discussing now. Then after completion of this enterprise application architecture, data persistence. The topic name is what? The data persistence. Data persistence is the topic here we are understanding. So what is this data persistence? Right, sir. Now observe carefully, all of you know. Data persistence. Storing data in the backend systems permanently. Storing data in the backend system permanently. Storing data in the backend system permanently is called what there? Is called what there? Data persistence. Right, so storing data in backend systems permanently is called what the data persistence. This is clearly the meaning of like what the data persistence. Now observe carefully. Instead of saying the data persistence, just simply we can understand the persistence data or persistence. It's okay. What exactly the meaning of persistence operations? No. Alright, sir. What are the what exactly the meaning of this persistence operations? Can know? Alright, sir. Now observe carefully. Alright, so now if you perform if you perform the operations if you perform the operations over the persistence data like CRUD operations, like what operations here? CRUD operations, like CRUD, right, sir? If you perform the persistence operations over the persistence data like CRUD operations, then that operations are called data persistence operations. And that operations are called as what? The data persistence operations. Right, sir. And guys, now people are asking to me the notes information about it. I think already given that classroom notes here in the last session. I given already this. All right. Just even I'm giving in the document in the questions box also. If any of you are missing the document, just I'm giving in the question box. No, now try to copy that notes here. Already I created this in the last session also. I given on Friday. I given this. Okay, right, sir. Right, sir. If you perform the operations over the persistence data like CRUD operations, guys, are you aware about it? What is this CRUD operations? Now tell me. CRUD, CRUD operations. Are you do you have any awareness on it? CRUD operations? Any idea? CRUD operations. Are you aware about it? Everybody. CRUD operations. CRUD. CRUD. Create, read, update, delete. Right. Create in the sense insert. Okay. Right, sir. It's okay. Fine. CRUD operations. Performing operations over the persistence data, over the permanent data. They are nothing but what their persistence operations. That's okay. Then what next one? Here? After completion of this, to achieve data persistence in Java applications, what exactly the solutions are available? What we are able to get? Right, sir. Now observe carefully. To achieve data persistence in the Java applications, we have to use the following solutions. What solutions here we are going to use? To achieve the data persistence in Java applications, we have to use the following solutions. What solutions here we are going to use? Okay, let us understand that solutions here. Right, sir. The first one is serialization and deserialization, and the second one is JDBC. Next one is like what there ORM implementations. Under these ORM implementations here, what I am telling to you, the first one is like what there. The first one is like what there. EJBs, entity beans. Next one is like what there Hibernate, JPA, Open JPA, and so on. So many, and so on and so on and so on. So many things are available that here we have to understand clearly. Not only this, so many things are existed here that here we have to understand. Okay. Right, sir. So next one is what? After this, after completion of this. Okay, fine. These are the various data persistence solutions here we are getting. Now try to understand it clearly. First one is what there serialization and deserialization, JDBC, ORM implementations. In ORM implementations, what things are available here now? EJB, CentiDBins, Hibernate, JPA, OpenJPA, and so on. Right, sir. These are all the things here what we are getting. Now observe carefully. Now my requirement is like what there. How we are able to achieve data persistence by using how we are able to achieve data persistence by using serialization and deserialization first. That here we have to understand. Right, sir. Now serialization and deserialization concept wise here we have to understand, guys. Now first of all tell me what is serialization and what is deserialization. First answer for it. After that we are going to understand how serialization and deserialization is able to achieve the data persistence. How is it possible to achieve the data persistence by using serialization deserialization? First of all tell me what is serialization and what is deserialization. Guys, now answer for my question. What is serialization here? Any idea what is serialization? Everybody respond to me. What is serialization? Any idea? Alright, now I'm giving clarity. The process of separating the data from an object is called serialization. The process of separating the data from an object is called what there? Serialization. Then what is deserialization? What you are understanding about the deserialization now? Reverse process. The process of reconstructing an object on the base of the data is called deserialization. The process of reconstructing an object on the base of the data is called as like what there? Deserialization. Serialization and deserialization, if we take now, the process of creating an object, the process of separating the data from an object is called as what there? Serialization. The process of reconstructing an object on the base of the data is called as like what there? Deserialization. Right, sir. Okay, fine. Serialization and deserialization, these points here we understand clearly. Nice. But how we are able to perform serialization and deserialization here? To perform serialization and deserialization, Java has provided the following. Java has provided the following byte-oriented streams. What are the byte-oriented streams? Now, the first one is what there? Object output stream, and the second one is what there? Object input stream. Now here we have to understand object output stream is for what there? Serialization. Object input stream is for what there? Deserialization. Object input stream is for what there? Deserialization. Right, sir. That's okay, fine. Now here my point is like what? What is the point here I'm telling now? How is it possible to perform serialization and deserialization? Right, sir. How is it possible to perform serialization and deserialization in Java applications? Let us understand it clearly. In a standalone mode, I am telling to you about the serialization and deserialization. Understand it. After that, we are going to understand how it is performing persistence, data persistence in our applications. How is it possible to perform data persistence in our applications? That points here we are going to understand. First of all, let me show a diagrammatic representation for it. How it is performing here. Right, sir. Everybody. For example, I'm having an object. What object is available here? An employee object here. I'm going to take, for example, this is an employee object. Okay, right. So now before that, what I'm telling now, this is my Java application. I'm going to take one text file. If you want to perform serialization, definitely one text file is required here. This is a text file. A text file or whatever it may be, some flat file here we are going to take. That flat file here I'm going to take. That file name is like what there. I'm going to provide something else like what there. emp.txt. emp.txt. Okay. Now here my requirement is what there. First of all, we have to create serializable object. Step number one. Here we have to perform what there, serializable object. Right. 1 minute. Steps to perform serialization. Step number one. Create serializable object. What is the meaning of this serializable object, guys? Now observe carefully. I'm giving one point to you. In Java, so many objects here we are able to create. We are able to create so many objects in Java applications. By default, all Java objects are not eligible for serialization. By default, all Java objects are not eligible for what? Serialization. Only the objects whose classes are implementing java.io.serializable marker interface are eligible for serialization and deserialization. Guys, observe carefully. In Java applications, by default, all Java objects are not eligible for serialization and deserialization. Okay. But which objects are eligible for serialization and deserialization now? What objects are eligible for serialization and deserialization? What objects are eligible for serialization and deserialization now? Alright, sir. Now, point here we have to understand only the objects whose classes are implementing java.io.serializable marker interface are eligible for serialization and deserialization. Okay, fine. Now the point here I'm telling there, if you want to make an object as a serializable object, then what we have to do? Simply here we have to take one user defined class. That user defined class must implement what their serializable interface. Only that objects are eligible for what their serializable. Alright, so then immediately here preparing a serializable object in the sense, just first of all here we have to take public. Some class here I'm going to take what class here? Say for example, I'm going to take what their employee class. Now inside this employee class, then what I'm telling there? Now observe carefully. So private int envo semicolon private string ename private float esal private string eaddr. Like this here we have taken some variables. Okay. Alright, sir. Now envo ename esal eaddr and so on. Some other content here. Now here observe carefully. This employee class object, if I create an employee object now, employee emp is equal to new employee. Here I am giving much clarity, it is not eligible for serialization. It is not eligible for serialization. But when it is eligible for serialization, guys? When it is eligible for serialization, now tell me. Alright, when it is eligible for serialization now, when we implement java.io.serializable interface, mark interface, which doesn't have any abstract method. It doesn't have any abstract method. Just it is like what there, a simple interface which doesn't have any abstract methods, but its main intention is to make eligible an object for serialization and deserialization. Right, sir? Now its main intention is what there, to make eligible an object for what there, serialization and deserialization. Right, sir? Now this is exactly the meaning of like what there, serialization and like what there, how we are going to prepare that serializable object. Okay, fine. Here we prepared a serializable class and we created an object. Now that object is like what there, serializable object here we are getting it now. Okay, this is clear. This is exactly the meaning of like what there, serializable object here we created. That's okay, fine, nice. Step number one is completed, guys. Now let me check this. Let me do the same thing in our example here now. Let me do the same example here in our same thing in our example here. All right, sir. Now see this one. First of all, here we have to create like what there object here I created in Java application. This is like what there Java application. Inside the Java application, I'm going to keep some data. ENY is equal to 111. ENM is equal to AAA. ESL is equal to 5000 for example. EADDR is equal to HIBERNATE. Like here we am providing some data. Okay, nice. Now this is an object and it's a reference variable here I'm going to create. Its reference variable is like what there EMP1. EMP1 is a reference variable. Okay, nice. Now observe carefully. I'm going to serialize the data. Means that I'm able to separate the data from the object. But where we are going to store the data, we are going to separate the data. It's okay, fine. But where we are going to store the data I'm going to be stored inside what there text file emp.txt. Of course, if it is a distributed application, I may send the separated data to the network. Network may carry the data to some other location. But now it is a standalone application. Because of that reason here I've taken like what there a text file. Inside the text file I'm going to keep the data. But understand it clearly. Separating the data, okay, we will take care about it. But how we are going to send the data to the text file? If you want to send the data to the text file here, definitely we require some stream or not. If you want to send the data to the text file, then definitely here we require some streams or not. Definitely we need a stream now. Then what type of stream here we required here now? Exactly. Here we require some output stream is required. Output stream. Moreover, here we are going to use binary data. That means like what are bytes oriented data only here we are going to manage now. So definitely here we require what there some stream. What stream here we require now? File output stream is required. So first of all here we have to create file output stream. First here we have to create what their file output stream to send this data to the text file. Right, so now file output stream here is required. Now this here I'm going to create like what their file output stream. As a first step here we are going to make ready the target file by using file output stream. This file output stream is how it is now. It will check whether target file is available or not. Even if the target file is not available, nothing is going to be happen there. It will create a target file with the same name. Whatever the name here we provided, no, that is like what the emp.txt. It will create the target file like this. Right, sir. It's okay, fine. Now here, what I am telling you, let me provide this information here. What information here I am providing there? Step number 2, create target file by using file output stream. Create target file by using what there? File output stream. File output stream FOS is equal to new file output stream of some emp.txt. Like this here we have to provide. So okay, fine. Target file here we created. Even though the file is not available, no need to worry for it. Our file will be created with the emp.txt. It's okay, fine. All right, so then after this, what next one here? No? Apart from this, what next one here we are going to understand there? Target file is ready. Next one is point number 2. Create a object output stream. Create like what there? Object output stream. Create a object output stream. Okay, create object output stream. Create object output stream. Right, sir. Now here we are creating like what there object output stream. This object output stream is performing like what there serialization. How it is performing serialization here? I'll give clarity now. Understand it clearly. This is like what there object output stream OS. Let me create it. Point number 3. Create object output stream. Object output stream OS is equal to new object output stream with the link of file output stream. Here file output stream parameter here we have to pass to like what there object output stream. Automatically object output stream is going to be created. Object output stream OS is equal to new object output stream of FOS. That's okay, fine. Then what next one here apart from this? When we complete this, all right. So now point number 4. Send the serializable object to the object output stream. Send the serialized object to the object output stream. How we are going to send it now? OS dot write object of EMP. OS dot write object of EMP. Right, sir. Now see this point here. Whenever this object output stream is available now, now I want to send this EMP to like what their object output stream. You have to send it. How we are going to send it now? What is the instruction here we are going to use there? OS dot write object of EMP1, for example. Automatically object will be provided to the object output stream. Object will be provided to the object output stream. Now here we are going to provide the data. What data here we are going to provide there? ENY is equal to 111, ename is equal to AAA, Israel is equal to 5000, EAD is equal to Hyderabad. The data is going to be stored. Okay. When we provide this employee object, when we provide employee object to the object output stream, automatically that employee object is going to be serialized. Automatically employee object is going to be serialized. What is the meaning of serializing that employee object? Separating the data from an object. Whatever the object here we submitted to the object output stream, there we have to separate the data from this object. All right, sir. Now here the data is going to be separated. Here the data is going to be separated. All right, so now the data is going to be separated. How the data is going to be separated here? No. All right, now the data is separated like this. Data is available like this. Okay, when data is separated, now this is called as like what the serialization. Now the serialized data automatically will be submitted to like what there to the file output stream. Automatically the data, what data here we separated from the object, the data is going to be submitted to the file output stream, where the data will come to like what there file output stream in the form of zeros and ones. Why? Because it's a byte oriented stream basically. The data will be available like this. When the data is available like this, automatically the data will come to the text file. Automatically the data will come to like what file here? No, text file. Now in the text file here we are able to see the data as like text data. Of course, now for our understanding purpose here I am writing like this, but actually what happened there? No, the data will be available in different format. In a different representation, the data is going to be available in the text file here, but actually the data I'm providing to you in a readable format here inside this. Here I'm providing the data in readable format, but actually it is in what there in a different style here that we are going to see now. So this is exactly, this process is exactly like what there serialization. Here we have to understand this is like what there serialization. This total process is called what there serialization. Finally, here what we have done there, we separate the data from the object. That separated data will be submitted to the target file. The separate data is available on what there target file. So this is exactly the meaning of like what there serialization, data object serialization. Clear? Let me provide this point here now. Right, so now get the point is what there when we execute the above application, when we execute the above instruction, JVM will send the employee object to the object output stream, where the object output stream will perform the required serialization, that is separating the data from the object and send the data to the object output stream, where the object output stream will send that data to the target file. Finally, that serialized data will be available in the target file. Fine, sir. Now this is exactly the meaning of like what is serialization. That's okay, fine. Now I want to perform deserialization. Now I want to perform like what is the deserialization. How I am going to perform this deserialization here now. Right, so now observe carefully how I am going to perform deserialization. Right, so now steps to perform deserialization. Right. What exactly the steps here we required here no to perform this deserialization here no? Let us observe carefully. Now serialized data is available in the text file. So first we have to read that serialized data from this text file or not. The process of reconstructing an object on the base of the data, in the sense, first we have to get the data from the text file or not. Definitely here we have to get the data from the text file here. So if you want to get the data from the text file, there here we have to use like what there a separate file input stream here we have to use like what there file input stream. Now let me create like what there file input stream. Right, sir. This is like what I am telling there file input stream. When we created this file input stream, automatically the data which is available in the respective target file, respective source file, the data will come to like what there to the file input stream automatically. The data will come to like what there file input stream automatically. There we can see the data in the form of zeros and ones. Why? Because it's a byte oriented stream where the data has to be represented in the form of bytes only. That's okay, fine. Next one is after completion of this content here, what next one here we are understanding now. Then now this is like what they're creating file input stream. Create file input stream object. Create file input stream object with the source file. The source file where the serialized data existed. Where the serialized data exists. Right, sir. Let us observe carefully. File input stream FIS is equal to new file input stream of something else like what the emp.txt. That's nice. Created. Now number 2. Create object input stream. Create object input stream with the file input stream. Object input stream OIS is equal to new object input stream of 10 o'clock. File input stream OIS is equal to new file, sorry, object input stream OIS is equal to new object input stream of FIS that will be created. All right, so now what happened here? Now I'm giving clarity on it. Now try to understand it now. Now here we are going to create like what there object input stream. This is object input stream here what we are creating. Okay. So when we have created object input stream, automatically the data will come to this object input stream. What data here we are able to get there? This data here we are getting to the object input stream. When data is available here, what this object input stream is able to do now? What this object input stream is able to do now? It will perform deserialization. Object input stream will perform what the deserialization means that it is able to create an object on the basis of the data. It's able to create an object on the basis of the data. If data is available on the basis of this data, object is going to be created. Right, sir. Now inside this object, what data is available here? As it is, whatever the data here which is generated, which is coming from the respective file input stream or to the object input stream, with the same data, object is going to be created. Right, sir. Whenever this object is created, now I want to read that object to my Java program. I want to read that object to my what there Java program. Then how I am going to read that object into the Java program here? Then I am telling to you clearly. Yeah, this is like what there. This is my object here. What we are able to get. This is an object that here we are able to get from the object input stream. All right. So now here we are getting this object. Now inside this object, what data is available? What exactly the data which is available here, as is the data, whatever the data here we serialize now, the same data here we are able to get. That's okay. Now it is like what the emp2 reference variable here I'm going to take now. The emp2 reference variable is existed here. Okay, now this is like what their deserialization here we are performing. This is totally is called as like what their deserialization. This is clearly like what their deserialization. Serialization and deserialization here we are getting it now. All right, sir. Now observe carefully. All right. And third one is like what? Then after completion of this, I'm telling there when the serialized data is available to the object input stream, automatically the object input stream will perform the required deserialization. Object input stream will perform the required deserialization over the data, serialized data. Now point number 3. Right, sir. Now we'll provide the required deserialization over the serialized data and make available the deserialized object. Right. Okay, fine. Now what next one can know? Read deserialized object from the object input stream. Right, so now further over, then how we are going to do this? Read deserialized object. Now it's very simple. Here we have to do now employee emp2 is equal to ois dot read object. Method here we have to do. But actually ois dot read object method will written in the form of object type actually. But I record that in the form of like what the employee. It will written in the form of like what the object type. Actually it will written employee object only. But that employee object will be written in the form of like what their object type. That I want to get in the form of like what their employee. That's the reason why here we are performing like what their typecasting. Here we are performing like what their typecasting. Here we are performing. That's it. This is exactly the meaning of like what their deserialization. Here we are performing. Right, sir. Now finally here we are getting that object deserialization. Here we are getting. When we perform deserialization, the same diagram, whatever the diagram here we have taken, the same diagram here I'm going to provide here. Now this is like for their serialization and deserialization mechanism. This is clearly like what the serialization and deserialization mechanism here we are getting. Guys, now tell me, confirm to me, all of you are getting clarity on this? Guys, all of you, please confirm to me, all of you are getting clarity on this point now? Is that serialization and deserialization here? All of you are getting clarity on this? All right, that's perfect. Here we are getting it. Okay, fine. But now here my question is what there? How data persistence? How data persistence is performed, is achieved through serialization and deserialization? That is my question, guys. How data persistence is achieved through serialization and deserialization? That is my question. Right, sir. Now observe carefully. I'm going to ask this question to you. Now try to understand it clearly. For this particular point here, I'm telling to you. Now tell me, in the serialization, deserialization, we separate the data. The data we stored where? Now tell me, guys. We stored the data where in this mechanism? Everybody, respond for me, guys. Here we separate the data from the object. The separated data we stored where? What is this? Text file or what a text file or some file, some other file, that doesn't matter. Is a file or not? Is a file or not? Is a file. File in the sense what? File system or not? Is a file system or not? Is a file and file system or not? Yes, perfect. It is like what there? Is it not file system, guys? The dmp.txt file is in the file system or not? The dmp.txt file is in a file system or not? Definitely it is in file system. Please remember it. The dmp.txt file is in what there? File system. Now tell me, file system is a permanent file system is a temporary storage area or permanent storage area? File system is a temporary storage area or permanent storage area, guys? Now tell me. The file system is a temporary storage area or permanent storage area? Okay, still might be some people are saying that it is a temporary storage area. That's nice. But anyway, then I'm asking one more question to now try to understand it. No, file system is a RAM or a ROM? File system is a hard disk or a RAM? Where is that file system actually? File system is in a RAM or a ROM? That is a hard disk or in a RAM? Some people are saying that RAM. Right, sir. Is that file system is available in our RAM memory? Is it available in 8 GB RAM or maybe 16 GB RAM? No, it is in a hard disk. Hard disk. Now tell me, hard disk is a permanent or temporary? Hard disk storage is a permanent or temporary? Hard disk storage is temporary or permanent? Permanent. Permanent. Yes, perfect. Now people are giving information. Now it is permanent. So if I store any data in a file system, automatically the data will be stored in a hard disk permanently or not? If I store some data in a file system, automatically the data will be stored permanently or not? The data is stored in permanent mode or not? Definitely. If you modify the data, then only it is going to be modified. If you delete the data, then only it is going to be deleted. Otherwise, the data is permanent or not? Yeah, when the data is permanent, when the data is permanent in the file system, when we store the data permanently in the file system, automatically there we are able to achieve the data persistence or not? What is the meaning of data persistence, guys? What exactly the meaning of data persistence? The data persistence is nothing but what they're storing data permanently. Storing data permanently, making the data permanent, storing the data permanent. That is what their data persistence. So here in serialization, we separate the data from the object. The data we stored into the text file means that the data we stored in a particular flat file. Flat file is like what there is a permanent storage. Why? Because it's a file system now. So if we keep data in a file system, automatically the data is in what there permanent storage. Whenever the data is stored in permanent now, automatically this is like what there we are able to achieve like what there data persistence here we are able to achieve. We are able to achieve what there data persistence. That's nice. All right. Now the point here, what I am telling to you, observe carefully. In serialization and a deserialization, we will separate the data from the object, and we will store the data in a flat file. Flat file in the sense some file system file. Flat file in the file system. Flat file in the file system. It is the permanent storage. It is a permanent storage. So it is a permanent storage. So the serialization and the object serialization and deserialization is able to provide data persistence in the Java applications. Right, so this is a way of achieving data persistence in Java applications. That's nice. It's very good. All right, but do you have any problems with this mechanism? But I have a question now. If it is a perfect mechanism, if it is a wonderful mechanism, then what is the requirement to go for JDBC? First of all, tell me, do you have any drawbacks with this mechanism? Yes, definitely here we are having some drawbacks with this mechanism. What exactly the drawbacks with this particular mechanism? Now let us understand it clearly. In serialization and deserialization, in serialization and deserialization, we are able to manage the data permanently in the file system. We are able to manage the data permanently in the file system, where the file system is the operating system dependent. Am I right or not? Where the file system is what there operating system dependent. Everybody observe carefully. In serialization deserialization, we are able to manage the data permanently in the file system, where the file system five minutes. నువ్వు ఇప్పుడే తినేసి 5 minutes క్లాస్ అయిపోతుంది మీరు తింటూ ఉండొచ్చు నీకోసం లేదు తింటూ ఉండొచ్చు sorry guys, no it's okay, fine. In serialization and deserialization, we are able to manage the 5 minutes also. Right, sir. In serialization, deserialization, we are able to manage the data permanently in the file system, where the file system is the operating system dependent. Dependent. It is not. It is not. What I am telling there, it is not suitable. It is not suitable. It is not suitable for the. It is not suitable for the platform independent. Platform independent front end technologies. Front end technologies like Java, Python, and so on and so on and so on. So, for example, if you want to use this file system as a backend, no, it is not suitable for the platform independent front end technologies like what they're Java, Python, and so on. Instead of saying this front end, no, it is not like what they're platform independent programming languages like Java, Python, and so on. So that serialization and deserialization is not suitable for the platform independent programming language. If you want to use it as a backend, no, it is not suitable. Remember this point clearly. Right, sir. Then what next one here we have to understand there? Okay, this is one point here. Platform independent. That file system is a platform independent, dependent, so it's not suitable. That's okay, fine. All right, sir. Now, what next one here? In serialization and deserialization, in a serialization and deserialization, we are able to use object input stream and object output stream. We are able to use the byte oriented streams like object input stream and object output stream. Okay, we are able to use the streams like object input stream and object output stream. These streams are the byte oriented streams. These streams are like what they're byte oriented streams. Okay, they are able to support and they are able to support only byte oriented data, not character oriented data. Then if you want to manage the character oriented data as the if you want to manage character oriented data as like what their character oriented data as a data persistence, then how is it possible to achieve it? No, it is suitable, it is supporting only byte oriented data, but I want to maintain the data persistence for what their character oriented data, then how is it possible, you know? So because of that reason, here we are going to use what there this we are unable to use like what the serialization and deserialization for our content. This is another point here we have to understand clearly. All right, sir. Then after completion of this point here, another point here we have to understand. Now serialization and deserialization is able to store the data in a flat file. It is open to every user of the system, every user of that system. So no security for the data, no security for the data. So serialization, deserialization is not providing security for our data. Security problems here we are able to get. It's able to provide what the less, not even less security, no security. Why? Because if you understand the diagram, easily we can identify it. Now see this one. This is an employee object here we have taken. For example, if you take user object, insert this user object, username and password data is available. Okay, if you send that username and password data to the text file, that password data is available in the text file. When password data is available in text file, no, there is no security for our data. So because of that reason, the serialization, deserialization is not providing security for our data. Understand it clearly. All right, sir. Next one is what there. Serialization and deserialization mechanism is suitable in the standalone applications only, standalone applications only, not suitable in the enterprise applications. It is suitable in the standalone applications only, not suitable in the enterprise applications. Why? Because you know already this mechanism here is a limited support now. Next one is serialization and deserialization, serialization and deserialization mechanisms, serialization deserialization mechanisms are able to perform the database operations like insertion and read only. See, if we understand the diagram here, what we are able to get now, what operations here we are performing there, inserting the data, maybe reading the data. Do you have any option like updating the data? Do you have any options like deleting the data? No, no such kind of things are available here. Only insertion and deletion only. Observe carefully. So it is performing only insertion and deletion operations only. Right, sir. Then after this, after completion of this, another one, serialization and deserialization serialization and deserialization are not having query language support. Guys, now observe carefully. They are not having any query language support. So when query language support is not available, it is very difficult to perform the database operations. It is very difficult to perform what their database operations. That's it. Now these are exactly the points here we have to understand. The drawbacks here we have to understand with what there, like serialization and deserialization here. Now what are the various drawbacks here we are understanding there? Now tell me. In serialization and deserialization, we will separate the data. We will separate the data from the object and we will store the data in the flat file in a file system. It is a permanent storage. So the object serialization and deserialization is able to provide data persistence in Java applications. It's okay. But serialization and deserialization are able to manage the data permanently in the file system. It's a platform dependent. It is not suitable for the platform independent programming languages. In serialization, deserialization, we are able to use the streams like object input stream and object output stream. These streams are the byte oriented stream. They are able to support only byte oriented data, not supporting what their character oriented data. Serialization and deserialization is able to store the data in a flat file. It's open to every user of that system, so no security for the data. Serialization and deserialization mechanism is suitable in the standalone applications only, not suitable in the enterprise applications. No. Next one is after completion of this punch here. Serialization and deserialization are able to perform the database operations like insertion and read only. Not possible to perform like what the other operations now. Serialization and deserialization are not having query language support. It is very difficult to perform the database operations. So here what we understood there clearly, how the data persistence here we are able to achieve through what there serialization and deserialization. Now the next one is here what we are going to do now. JDBC is the next one here. How the data persistence here we are able to achieve through this JDBC, that we are going to understand. Guys, now this part I will discuss with you tomorrow. Now try to attend for it. Then tomorrow we are able to see the content here now about this particular one. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. Right, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Hemant. And tomorrow we'll see the remaining part.